Welcome into Second Down right here on ESPN Radio. Christian Gokel, glad to have you alongside. Cody Queen sitting in with us as well. No Cam Ursery today. He will be back on the show tomorrow. Cody, there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about, and I'm going to give it to you like a sushi menu. I'm just going to list it out and allow you to pick what you want. All right?
I don't eat sushi.
You don't eat anything. You eat chicken nuggets and French fries.
I'm not eating anything today. I need to.
And that's about all Cody has. That's healthy. So, like, how many energy drinks have you had today versus how much?
Zero. That's what I was telling you. If there's coffee left in here, I'm gonna have to.
Well, you should probably eat something instead of putting coffee on an empty stomach.
Well, I'm gonna eat McDonald's later. I got a healthy nutritionist
that's
meal.
That's just not the way to do it there. But,
French fries.
I'm gonna give you the a la carte menu, Cody. I'm gonna let you pick what we talk about today. Because if Cam was here, we would just go nitty gritty college football. But your eyes kind of glaze over when we start doing that. So
start falling over.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give you the smorgasbord, give you the menu, and let you select what we want to talk about. All right. We have a new mock draft from Charlie Campbell from WalterFootball.com.
Definitely.
He is a guy who has been the most accurate in 3 out of the last 4 drafts, I believe, in terms of NFL experts picking the mock drafts. He's had the most correct in the first round, so we can get to his new mock draft because there are some wild picks in there. We can get to college football transfers because, I mean, your Gators have been one of the teams that have benefited the most from the transfer portal, but some teams winners, a lot of teams losers in the transfer portal. We can do that. Talk about Tiger Woods and his statements this past weekend to Jim Nantz in regards to Augusta. Talk some SoCon quarterbacks. Talk about one of my latest stories up on southernpigskin.com.
Plug.
We can talk recruiting if you want to. I mean, they're all right there for you, Cody.
I actually want
or we can go back to Matt Miller's comments yesterday and dive into those some more. Whatever you want to do.
Oh, I do want to go into Matt Miller's comments again. I still think it's atrocious what he's trying to say. How Zach Wilson is just this next type of Patrick Mahomes type of guy, but better than Joe Burrow. Getting on there.
Right, I
don't know.
No, he did. I don't know that he said he was better than Joe Burrow. He said he had a Joe Burrow like
even
season.
Comparing him to him, yeah.
And here, so we have the audio from yesterday. We're going to go ahead and play that. So just so we have some context, this is Matt Miller, NFL draft scout. He was on Get Up yesterday, and this is what he said in regards to kind of downgrading Trevor Lawrence and upgrading Zach Wilson.
That ascension in his final year. Things clicked for him. You saw the numbers, the 33 touchdowns while cutting down on his turnovers. And the thing you hear from people around the NFL is this name, Patrick Mahomes, a player who can work off platform, who can drift from the offensive line, that has the arm strength to make up some of those things. And for Zach Wilson, people look at Kyler Murray, they look at Patrick Mahomes, they look at Aaron Rodgers and say, this is where the NFL is going. It's no longer the 6'6" drop back quarterback. The consensus is still Trevor Lawrence. And it's hard, though, for people to buck this trend of there's a lot of groupthink. There was groupthink when Mitchell Trubisky was the first quarterback drafted. Everyone in the NFL told you that's the guy. Everyone thought that.
Okay, so a few different things there. Number one, when you say you're talking to guys around the NFL, is that just like people outside of the NFL offices who you ran into on the street? And they're like, yeah, Zach Wilson guy's pretty cool. Number two, let's be real careful comparing Zach Wilson's senior year to Joe Burrow's senior year, right? Joe Burrow, a lot of people forget his junior year, the first year he started at LSU, it wasn't great at the beginning. They got shut out against Alabama, but started to pick it up towards the end, had that crazy back and forth game, 7 overtime game with Texas A&M, and then beat UCF in a New Year's Six Bowl. And he had 2,894 yards, 16 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, had a 133 quarterback rating his junior year, first year starting at LSU. Completed 7.6 yards per attempt. So not a bad season for Joe Burrow. But then the next year, he set literally all the records, right? Completed 76% of his passes, right? 5,671 yards, averaged 10.8 yards per attempt, 60 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, right? And remember what Matt Miller said there. He had a Joe Burrow-like jump in his senior year. Zach Wilson had 11 touchdowns and 9 interceptions his junior year. His next year, he had 33 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. So it was pretty dang good. but it wasn't 60 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Now, I will say this, he played 3 less games, but I don't know that he's throwing 9 touchdowns a game to get up there with Joe Burrow towards 60, right? So let's just be real careful when we're comparing Zach Wilson to Joe Burrow. Number 2, the groupthink behind Mitch Trubisky comment, Cody, is a little wild to me because Mitch Trubisky had 1 year where he was pretty good at North Carolina. And Ben said this yesterday. He wasn't even necessarily the best quarterback on his team when he went pro. And never won an ACC title, never played in a significant bowl game, never really did anything of major significance at North Carolina except for be tall, mobile, and have a big arm. So that's about the extent of Mitch Trubisky. And so you're going to compare him and the groupthink around him to Trevor Lawrence, who has done nothing but win the ACC championship, has only lost twice in his career, both times in the college football playoffs. I mean, literally 3 straight ACC titles, a national championship, played in another national championship, and then played in the college football playoff semifinals. I mean, I understand you need a take, and comparing guys can be difficult, but man, I think that's 2 swings and misses right there.
And you got to think how many times Joe Burrow beat top 25, top 10.
No,
teams?
he had 7 top 10 wins in that Heisman Trophy
And
national championship.
Then you have Zach Wilson having 1. And that was against Boise State, ranked 21, top 25.
Yeah.
So you're going to try to compare them whenever he's playing teams like Texas, Texas State, Western Kentucky, North Alabama, San Diego State. These are literally teams that he played last year. Whenever you're playing in the SEC West and you're throwing for 60 touchdowns, you're not even in the same conversation, let alone even like the same
we talked about it yesterday.
stratosphere.
You put up 49 points on the Big 12 champion in the college football semifinals. 49 points in the first half against the Big 12 champion Oklahoma, right? And then you went and beat the guy who's pretty much the consensus number 1 overall draft pick, Trevor Lawrence. But again, that's what Matt Miller is arguing against. Ryan Clark, we don't have to play the sound, but Ryan Clark yesterday made the point where he said, we've anointed Trevor Lawrence since he came out of high school. We knew he was going to be the number 1 overall pick, and he thinks he's a good player, doesn't think he's that franchise type changing player. And I think that's a fair statement, right? You can say,
yeah,
maybe he's not good enough to save Jacksonville, because I think it takes a lot more than Trevor Lawrence to save Jacksonville. But to me, he's clearly the number 1 overall guy in this class. I think 2 things can be true. I think Trevor Lawrence could not be the savior for the Jaguars. He can be a really good quarterback, but maybe not the savior. But he can also be the best quarterback in this class, right? Maybe there isn't a savior in this class. I think,
and that's the thing. It could be because you're not going to be 100% with these draft picks anyways. Like, of course, we on this show, we do think Trevor Lawrence is great. But like, no one's gonna sit there and be like, "Hey, he's locked. He's gonna be amazing. He's gonna be like Peyton Manning."
Well, see, I
like,
think
no
a lot
one's
of people would say Andrew Luck's career was a disappointment, right?
Yeah,
With the
I
Colts,
agree.
They would say it's a disappointment, but I would disagree. I mean, he went to an AFC championship and lost to Tom Brady.
But it was
right?
his fault, though. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like he played really well in his career there. He got hurt, and he hurt
one of the worst offensive lines.
Well, yeah, and he got hurt his shoulder, and that's like, there's literally, you can't come back from that if you're a quarterback, right? He did everything he could. I mean, like Eastern European treatments, trying to get his shoulder back, and he just couldn't get back, couldn't get healthy. Like you said, playing behind a pretty weak offensive line there. Now one of the better offensive lines in the
I
NFL,
know, right?
but pretty weak offensive line. So I think it's so hard to make comparisons because you're not just talking about the guy, you have to talk about the entire team. Andrew Luck was a really good quarterback, right? And I'm never going to criticize quarterbacks who played from 2000 until now. I'm not going to criticize you for not winning Super Bowls. You know why? Because there's that dude who wears number 12 who's got 7 of them, right? I'm not going to criticize quarterbacks for not winning Super Bowls. I think you have to go a little bit deeper than that. I think Andrew Luck was a really good quarterback. I mean, the best season the Jaguars have ever had, you had Blake Bortles as your quarterback, and you just had an absurd defense because you had drafted really high on that side a lot and hit on a lot of your picks and gotten free agency right. You had Jalen Ramsey on your defense, Miles Jack on your defense, Calais Campbell on your defense. You had one of the better defenses that's ever rolled out in the NFL, and Leonard Fournette playing really well and carrying the offense.
It's a very good offensive
and
line.
I would say a pretty underrated receiver core with Allen Robinson there.
I agree.
They weren't great. They didn't have that true number 1 guy, but they weren't bad either. So the Jaguars have been bad for a long time. They've had one season where they had a really great defense and made it to the AFC Championship, where we're a play away from going to the Super Bowl. Trevor Lawrence, to me, is more than just a guy you want to come in and win football games. He's a guy you want to come in and change the perception of your franchise, right? And to the comment of the NFL's moving away from 6'6" quarterbacks that can sling it, I would go back and watch the last game that was played and see which quarterback won. Because the 6'6" quarterback who can sling it and stand in the pocket is the one who won, 31-9?
Oh, yeah.
And barely got touched in the game. They got sacked once, right? And then the pressure percentage, I think I remember this right, is like 13%.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, it's draft offensive linemen who can maul people and draft a quarterback who's comfortable in the pocket and can deliver the ball and go from there.
It's not only him that had success. I was saying the other day too about rookie of the year. Not very mobile, very tall with a gun on him.
Yeah.
Also, you have
Justin Herbert. Yeah.
Yeah. Also have Aaron Rodgers out there. You know, he's mobile enough, but he's not known to be breaking off freaking 40-yard runs and stuff like that, or getting 100 yards a game, or even getting 50 yards a game. You know, he stays in the pocket.
That's where my question comes in, because Aaron Rodgers, I've said this for a long time, and I think Tony Romo did this really well too, but just because he didn't have the postseason success, he doesn't get credit for it. Aaron Rodgers, people say he's not an overly mobile quarterback, but he is. But he just does it in the pocket, and he just moves, and his eyes are downfield. It's like he has like 6 sets of eyes around his head. He can just flow in the pocket so well, avoiding pressure, stepping up, and like the pass against Dallas a few years ago in the playoffs that he hit, just rolling out of the pocket and just delivering that stupid pass on
Rodgers
the
to Rodgers, baby.
Just an absurd pass on the sideline, right? That's what Aaron Rodgers can do. And so when you say that's what the NFL is moving towards, there's not very many guys who could do that outside of Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. That's when you get in trouble. When you try to find the guy who's the same as the other guy, that's when you start swinging and missing. Why don't you just do, and this was really what Kansas City did with Patrick Mahomes, is they kind of bucked the trend of, hey, we have to go out and we have to either find a guy who's great in the read option game, or we have to find the guy who can stand in the pocket and deliver it. And Andy Reid and the Chiefs were like, what about the guy who just threw for like 15,000 yards at Texas Tech, right? He threw for like 800 yards in a game against Baker Mayfield. Why don't we take a flyer on that and see if that works, right? Eventually the yards have to mean something, right? Let's see what this guy can do. And they did, and obviously it's worked out. The Cleveland Browns, nobody thought Baker Mayfield was going to be the one, but hey, this guy won the Heisman. He's fiery. He was a few plays away from playing in the national championship. I mean, literally double overtime against Georgia from taking Oklahoma to the national championship game. He can deliver a really good ball. He puts up all kinds of absurd stats, and he's just a fiery guy. Why don't we take a flyer on him? Worked out pretty well for them. I think they played the Chiefs pretty dang tough in the divisional round. I hate the fact that you have to. This is the way the league's moving towards. You know what way the league's moving towards? If you have a dominant line of scrimmage and you got a quarterback that can deliver a ball, and you know how long it's been moving towards that since the invention of the forward pass, right?
Since they started to do the one quarterback thing with Roger Staubach and all that stuff, which because back in the day and even before the 70s, it was just like a dual quarterback league. And now ever since they started doing the one quarterback, it's been like that. It's been like 110%.
I mean, there's just things about football that remain universally true. And if you have a dominant line of scrimmage and you have a quarterback that can be accurate and deliver the ball on time, then you're going to have a chance to be a really good football team. Now, if you want to get in the nitty gritty of, you have to have a guy that can buy you more time and extend plays. I think a lot of coaches would say, I'd rather have the guy that reads the field successfully the first time, doesn't have to extend the play, and we're on time and moving down the field. I mean, that's what the Super Bowl was. The Super Bowl it showed you everything that can be right about just letting your quarterback drop back in the pocket and deliver easy balls and running the football versus everything that can go wrong with hoping and praying your quarterback can get outside and make a play for you when they cover everything up. Because, I mean, this is the second time we've seen this really in the last few years. A couple years ago when the Patriots played the Rams, the Rams were a high-flying offense all up and down the field. Sean McVay had a plan A for the Patriots. He didn't have a plan B, right? He didn't have something he could switch up and go to against the Patriots, and the Patriots ate the Rams alive and held them to 3 points in the Super Bowl. Then this past year, Kansas City, same thing. Comes in best offense in the NFL, unstoppable, can pick how they want to score. They had a plan A. Tampa Bay didn't do anything complicated in that game. I think they only sent 5 or more on like 5 or 6 plays. For the most part, they were sending 4. Didn't do anything.
And 3. They were sending 3 and getting sacks.
Yeah, didn't do anything overly complicated. You know what the overly complicated thing they did was? Hey, that Ndamukong Suh guy's pretty good. Hey, that Jason Pierre-Paul guy's pretty good.
Yep.
Hey, that Shaq Barrett guy can get after the quarterback. That's about as complicated as they got on defense. And it worked. And you saw everything that can go wrong with hoping your quarterback can make a play. Because when he doesn't, you get beat 31-9.
I'm behind what Kevin Thomas said yesterday, actually. He said, well, you got to have this mobile quarterback. And Kevin goes, why can't we have two? I mean, like, why can't we have both in the league?
Yeah.
Why do we have to have one?
Well, and I'm not knocking mobile quarterbacks, right?
No, I agree.
I don't think you should draft based off of his comparison to another quarterback.
Thank
right?
you. That's exactly what he was saying.
You don't draft Lamar Jackson because you think, wow, this guy right here, I can make him into somebody else. You draft Lamar Jackson because he's Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
You draft Lamar Jackson because you saw him put 60 on Florida State, right? You saw him win the Heisman Trophy up and down the field with less talent than a lot of the teams he was playing against, right? You saw him go up against Clemson and just be untouchable, right? That's why you draft Lamar Jackson, because you go, I can do something with that. I can get creative with that. I can put something out there that NFL defenses aren't used to, right? Flip side of that, you can do what the Falcons have done with Matt Ryan, and which we could say, talk about postseason success, but I think a lot of that's on the defensive side of the football. What do you do with Matt Ryan? I got a tall quarterback who can drop back in the pocket and can throw strikes to my really good wide receivers, right? And what did he do? He won an MVP, win a Super Bowl, and was tied at the end of regulation in a Super Bowl, right? Has been to other NFC championship games, has had a lot of success in the postseason, right? There's just so many different ways to do it. It just drives me up a wall when people say, this is the way the NFL is moving towards. No, the NFL has always pretty much been the same. Let's just rock with the best players, and we'll go from there.
There's just a new type of quarterback.
But that's where you get the bust come in, is when you try to draft guys like Mitch Trubisky, because you're like, listen, I know he didn't have a lot of success in college and we haven't really seen any great film on him, but he's what the NFL is moving towards. Tall guy, mobile, can do it with his feet and with his arm. That's when you have busts.
Johnny Manziel too, baby.
That's when you have busts.
Yep.
This is what the NFL is moving towards. And it's like, maybe do a little bit deeper dive than that, or maybe just don't overthink it and draft the guy who's the best quarterback, i.e. Trevor Lawrence. Look, Matt Miller, Ryan Clark, I understand we need something to talk about. Ryan Clark's been saying this for a few years. I don't think he's a huge fan of Trevor Lawrence. I think that's fine. If you want to risk saying that I think the upside of Zach Wilson is more than the upside of Trevor Lawrence, and that's what you want to base it on, all right.
Zach Wilson's my fourth quarterback.
I don't think that's the way the Jags are going to go, and they'd be really silly to do that, in my opinion, because even if Trevor Lawrence is a bust, we talked about this yesterday, even if Trevor Lawrence is a bust, you still, if you're one of the people in the front office or Urban Meyer, you're like, I mean, who could have seen that?
You're not going to get fired.
Yeah, you're not going to get fired for Trevor Lawrence being a bust. We got more to come here on Second Down. We'll see which part of the smorgasbord Cody wants to dive into next. If you miss any portion of the show, you can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud as well. We're streaming live on Twitter, Facebook right now, and on YouTube live as well. More to come after this.
No.
Welcome back into Second Down right here on ESPN Radio. Christian Gokel alongside Cody Queen. Cody Queen taking it easy today, like the interns run the board.
We're trying over here. They're Mr. Intern. It's all right, Buck.
I'm going to blame Cody on that, though, because you don't blame the players, you blame the coach.
That's okay.
And that's on you,
I'm
Cody.
cool with that. I'll take it.
That's on you right there. I mean, great song, and, we got about 3 seconds of it.
Yeah.
So welcome back. I mean, that kind of caught me off guard. I'm usually like 20 seconds in.
He's used to the
preparing.
basketball, and the basketball liners are only like, 20 seconds. So
That's because Kevin likes to hear himself talk.
It's true. And he'll come in hot too, right? Like Kevin will be like,
"You want to try it again? Let's try it again. Let's bring the liner back up. We're gonna start this segment over. Bring it back up because it's a great song. We only heard like 0 of it, so here we go.
She calls me Goliath and I wear the David mask. I guess the stones are coming too.
Welcome back into Second Down right here on ESPN Radio. Christian Gokel alongside Cody Queen. Oh, God. We got to do it again now. Cody, you didn't show them the smooth transition where he brings the music down? We're training on the fly here. Here we go. No, leave him on. We're training. All right, I'll bring it down smooth. Now let it run. Welcome back into Second Down here on ESPN Radio. Christian Gokel, glad to have you. Let's see, so much smoother. So much smoother.
Let's go. First try.
Third try. He hit a foul ball on the 0-2 count. But hey, we're still alive. Yeah, we're still alive. We're still not bad. But yeah, good to have everyone alongside. Look, Buck, he's trying his best, Cody. And I blame you for this.
It's okay.
Because you just threw my man out here with no preparation. I was nervous before the show started because you were going over like way too much information with him like 30 seconds before the show started. Now you're sitting across the room from him with no chance to save him if anything goes wrong.
This is his second time.
I think he's maybe run 3 and out.
He's run 3 and out.
And I don't know how smooth.
Second down.
I don't know how smooth that was.
It was smoothish.
I mean, just kind of clippy on the rejoiners.
It wasn't too rough. I think he's used to running high school basketball.
Yeah, where again, Kevin likes to hear himself talk, but we work hard on these liners, so we want to hear them as we bring them down. And it sounds smoother, right? You hear the music while we're talking, and then you just slowly fade the music out. It's all a theater of the mind, right? And when you clip something off immediately, then it's kind of startling to the listeners, right? So we want to make it a smooth transition. Cross dissolve for the film folks out there. Make it a smooth transition. All right, good. Speaking of smooth transitions, Cody, we still have a smorgasbord to pick, and Cody wanted to like get into like the most generic Georgia sports talk I've ever heard of in my life. In the break, he's like, "Let's talk about what it's going to take to get Georgia over the hump in 2021." Cody, we're gonna talk about that, and like that's literally in the next 6 months, probably going to be like 25% of what we talk about. So let's shelve that one for a minute because we'll definitely get back to that.
He's like, Cody, you can pick what you want.
No, I gave you a menu, and now you're like, can I have chicken tenders? And we're like, we don't serve chicken tenders here, but I want some chicken tenders, please.
Some chicken tenders.
It's like, well, sir, we don't serve chicken tenders. Well, can you take some chicken and bread it and fry it and bring it out to me? Or can you have your server drive to McDonald's and get me some chicken tenders, please? Thank you. Like that's who Cody is as a person that we're trying to get to talk about stuff here on the radio today. But Cody, we'll go back to the menu.
What's on the menu?
College football transfers, Tiger Woods talk, SoCon quarterbacks, or recruiting update.
On the rundown, you have the transfers. Yes, you do. So yeah, let's definitely talk about the transfers and the winners. Who do you think? Well, who do I think and you think the winners of the transfer portal was?
Cody, put the paper down. No, put it down.
Why?
No, quit looking at it.
Why?
Quit looking at it.
Why?
Because I wanted to ask you, like, who do I think's the winner? And you're like staring at the paper.
My winner is whoever got the most.
It doesn't matter how good they were.
No,
so
not
long
at
as
all.
I think Texas State with Bowden out there actually didn't sign a high schooler this year and got nothing but transfers.
Really?
That's how they're doing it this year.
Winners.
So they won the transfer portal
Won
in your
it,
mind.
won it all 110%.
I'm gonna say Oklahoma
Really?
because they literally said Tennessee, who are your best players? Thanks, we'll take them.
Yeah, you getting it from SEC,
Yeah,
baby. Bring them on
not even
over.
that. It's just like you went to another Power 5 school and you said, we'll take your best 3 players. Thank you. Oklahoma got Eric Gray, a running back from Tennessee, who I believe was their leading rusher last year. They got Wanya Morris, who was a former 5-star offensive lineman. I think the highest graded recruit in Jeremy Pruitt's tenure at Tennessee. They also got Key Lawrence, a safety out of Tennessee. So Lincoln Riley just rolled into Rocky Top and said, hey, we'll take your 3 best players. Appreciate it. No, I don't need a receipt. Thanks. You guys have a fun season here, Josh. You appreciate the players. I think Tennessee ended up losing a grand total of 25 players to the transfer portal.
Oh, my gosh.
Meanwhile, flip side of that, in the SEC East, Florida, I think definitely the winners in the SEC East in terms of the transfer portal. Maybe the winners in the SEC period. Biggest one that they got was Eric Gilbert, the former 5-star tight end from LSU. Had a pretty great season under pretty tough circumstances there for LSU last year. Obviously, Miles Brennan, the quarterback, getting hurt. I think 3rd game of the season, and just LSU wasn't very good last year, but he had a really good freshman year. They're going to hope he can fill that Kyle Pitts role. And again, all of this is kind of waiting on the NCAA to make the decision if they're going to waive the 1 year where they'd have to sit out, which everyone pretty much assumes is going to happen just with the waivers that they filed in the past, granting everyone an extra year of eligibility. General consensus is NCAA is going to allow these guys to play for their teams in 2021. They also got DeMarcus Bowman from Clemson, who didn't get a ton of playing time, but you weren't going to get a ton of playing time behind Travis Etienne at Clemson. But they grab a running back from Clemson, which pretty funny on social media the last couple of days is a video surfaced of him working out and he was running a wheel route. And so Georgia fans or Florida fans were retweeting that and like adding Kirby Smart, saying like seeing this in his nightmares. Because for those of you who don't remember, Florida absolutely torched Georgia with the wheel routes in Jacksonville this past year to the tune of over 200 yards receiving for their running backs. So Kirby Smart having nightmares about DeMarcus Bowman catching wheel routes in Jacksonville. And then they added Antonio Shelton, a Penn State defensive tackle, to solidify that defensive front there. And they've done a really good job grabbing defensive line recruits. Grenard a couple years ago turned out to be an amazing piece for them on the interior defensive line, really getting after the quarterback. So Antonio Shelton, a big pickup as well. Over in the ACC, 2 of the big name ACC schools that haven't performed like them recently, I think did a really good job in the transfer portal. Miami, they're not far away, I think, from at least competing for an ACC title. Look,
I agree.
It's Clemson and everybody else. And Manny Diaz, he gets a hard time just because of some of their failures. I mean, getting housed in a few big games, big spotlight games. But you have De'Aaron King coming back. He's one of the better returning quarterbacks in the ACC. I mean, in terms of guys who have significant playing time, I'd probably put him behind Sam Howell in the ACC quarterback. Obviously, DJ up at Clemson is odds-on favorite to be player of the year in the ACC, but De'Aaron King's a really good piece. Well, they go get him Charleston Rambo from Oklahoma, who's a hell of a receiver. And then DeAndre Johnson from Tennessee transfers in, and then Georgia corner Tyreek Stevenson transfers in as well. And that's a big piece for Miami. The rumblings around that were Tyreek Stevenson wants to play boundary corner. Georgia fans will remember for the vast majority of his career, he was playing that star position, nickel corner, whereas, again, he wants to play the money position, which is boundary corner, which he played in the Peach Bowl and played pretty well, but Georgia has some pretty big pieces coming through the pipeline, like a Keely Ringo, who's going to play on that boundary. So just he wanted to, I guess, change the scenery. He wanted to get down to Miami and play boundary corner. And then other side of one of the bigger rivalries, Florida State. They've done some good work in the transfer portal. Biggest name that you'll see is Mackenzie Milton, UCF quarterback, who is coming off of almost losing his leg. Devastating lower body injury there. And really a scary scene, right? Where, again, you didn't know if the doctors were going to be able to save his leg. It's one of those where like Joe Theismann-esque, where if it had hit the wrong artery, he could have died.
Yep.
But just amazing the fact that he's back playing football.
One of the key pieces why they went undefeated.
Yeah, absolutely. And if he can get back to the semblance of what he was, that's a huge pickup for Florida State. They also grab in the defensive secondary Brandon Moore out of UCF, Jarquez McClellan out of Arkansas, and Jamie Robinson out of South Carolina. Those are all secondary guys that are going to be big for Florida State. But Florida State, where they've really lacked, is on the lines of scrimmage, and they haven't done a ton to address the offensive line, but they did grab Keir Thomas out of South Carolina, who's a really good interior defensive lineman out of South Carolina. So a couple of guys there out of South Carolina, a couple out of UCF, and then Georgia fans will remember the name Jermaine Johnson. He was on Last Chance U, transferred into Georgia as the number 1 JUCO prospect, playing outside linebacker. And he started a good portion of games for Georgia, but that outside linebacker rotation for Georgia is so deep that he wasn't getting the playing time he wanted to. And somebody inside his inner circle said, if he wants to go to the NFL, he's got to get the tape. And he didn't feel like he was getting the tape at Georgia. So he transferred to Florida State, where with as bad as Florida State is right now and as good as Georgia is right now, you got to feel like that's just then taking nothing away from him, but kind of a mercenary move, right? I can go here. It's still a Power 5 program. I'm still going to be on TV, get to play in some significant games, and I'm going to pretty much stay on the field and get as much tape as I want to. But I think he's a really good player, and if they just unleash him as an edge rusher, yeah, I could see him improving his draft stock by making this move. But again, those are just some of the winners.
What's the best one, you think? Best player,
Eric
best
Gilbert.
matchup. Okay, yeah.
Eric Gilbert,
okay.
like no doubt about it. I mean, dude still has at least 2 years that he can play for Florida. I'm not going to call him Kyle Pitts, because Kyle Pitts might have been the best tight end we've ever seen in college football.
Yeah.
But he's an unbelievable talent at tight end, playing with Emory Jones there. And the cool thing I think about Dan Mullen's offenses, especially when you have a mobile quarterback, is the pressure they put on linebackers. You saw it in the Georgia game even with Kyle Trask, right? Kyle Trask not overly mobile, but just the different head games he plays with linebackers, they were having to stay inside with Kyle Pitts, and while they were doing that, flicking it out to running backs on wheel routes, grabbing 20 yards at a time. So I think if you grab Eric Gilbert, that completely opens up the offense for Florida, because now you have the run threat with Emory Jones. You go and you grab DeMarcus Bowman from Clemson, and they have a couple other good running backs there as well. And then Eric Gilbert over the middle.
Yeah, they got Pierce over there.
That's gonna be a tough day for an inside linebacker when you play Florida, because I mean, who's your key? Are you keying on Emory Jones? Are you keying on the running back? I mean, you got a 5-star running behind you, a tight end who's just as fast as your safeties. It's a tough day to be an inside linebacker. So yeah, it's Eric Gilbert. I think if he can get healthy and get back to his former playing style, I think McKenzie Milton I think he could be the difference for at least 2 or 3 games for Florida State, because eventually they're going to pull themselves out of the cellar. I got to believe it. I got to believe they're not always going to be as bad as they have been. So, yeah, in terms of guys who are going to get drafted high, Wanya Morris at Tennessee. Okay. I mean, him moving to Oklahoma, and Oklahoma's got a pretty good track record of putting offensive linemen in the NFL. I mean, that was a good pickup for them. He's going to, again, if all these guys get cleared, he's going to be a day 1 starter and get drafted in probably the top 15 in the next draft. So just in terms of draft guys, it's Wanya Morris. And then Charleston Rambo, he could have a fun year at Miami. I like De'Aaron King as a college football player. I still don't know if I'm completely sold on him as a thrower. And so Charleston Rambo and him, that'll just really depend on the report. He could have a huge season for all we know. It's just going to depend on what spring practice looks like and what his report looks like with De'Aaron King. But those, I think Florida, Oklahoma, Miami, Florida State, the winners of the transfer portal thus far. Tennessee, the clear loser of the transfer portal.
25, I mean, you said?
Just a max exodus. 25 players gone, not including the guys who decided to go pro. It's not looking great there on Rocky Top. They have added guys like Hendon Hooker on the flip side of that through the transfer portal, but for the most part, it's been rough. I think Mississippi State lost like 18 guys in the transfer portal as well. Also, Kylan Hill, their star running back, opted out, likely to get ready for the NFL draft. So, yeah, a couple of SEC teams struggling with the transfer portal. Georgia, I think, has lost 10 guys in their transfer portal. A couple of starters, a few guys like Matt Landers, who just wanted to go somewhere for more playing time, and Jermaine Johnson just wanted some more playing time, but haven't pulled a lot in. But that's the thought, Cody, is with spring practice coming up, you're going to find out where your holes are. Guys on teams are going to find out maybe my role isn't what I thought it was on this team, and then you can start adding some guys into your rotation from other teams. So a lot more going to happen with the transfer portal, far from over for this 2021 season. We got more to come here on Second Down. Welcome back into Second Down right here on ESPN Radio. Christian Gokel, glad to have you alongside here on this Tuesday afternoon. Some breaking news to get to and some sad news. Tiger Woods was injured Tuesday morning in a single-car crash near Los Angeles, California, according to LA County sheriffs. Emergency personnel had to extradite him from his vehicle using the jaws of life. He's been taken to the hospital for his injuries, but his condition is unknown at this time. So again, Tiger Woods, who we were just talking about, injured in a single passenger car wreck, rollover accident, jaws of life having to be used to get him out of it. And he has been taken to the hospital. We will update you with word about that. But Cody, obviously, first thought is just hoping that Tiger's okay.
I hate to see that, man. Oh gosh, I really hope he's okay. I really hope. You never want to see this to anybody, especially with a man like that who's done so much for the sports community and done so much for golf. I hope he's all right. There's TVs on right now that we're looking at, and
Wow.
they're showing the wreck, and it's not looking very good. Hopefully he's all right, man. There's the LA County Sheriff. You go to their Twitter at LASDHQ. They are putting out reports right now. So if you guys want to get any updates on that.
Yeah, and again, we had mentioned a little bit earlier, we're going to talk to Rich Stiles coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, but Tiger Woods is coming off of his 5th major back surgery, just a couple of months removed from that. So again, looking at the pictures now, it looks like he rolled down a hill like a pretty significant ways. Car is completely totaled, and as they mentioned in the report, they had to use the jaws of life to get him out of there. So again, our thoughts with Tiger Woods right now, as again, he's been involved in a single car accident in LA County. We'll keep you updated with all of the latest news from that as it comes out. We're going to go to a break real quick, come back, final segment of Second Down next. Welcome back into Second Down here, right on ESPN Radio. Christian Gokel, glad to have you alongside. Again, if you're just joining us, Tiger Woods this morning around 7 o'clock in California was in a single car accident. It looks like he rolled down a hill out there in LA County, and jaws of life were needed to get him out. He is currently in the hospital, and we are awaiting updates on his injury. But from the police report, his vehicle suffered major damage. And Cody, you don't even need the police report to see that. I mean, just you can find the photos on the car on the internet. CNN is reporting about it live right now as well. Just hoping and praying that Tiger Woods is okay. Before we let you go, again, wanted to touch on this. Today, February 23rd, marks the 1-year anniversary of the murder of Ahmaud Arbery. It's something that's really shaken not just our local communities, but communities around the country. And it's wild that it's already been 365 days, Cody, that we're already back talking about the 1-year anniversary of this. Just for folks in the local area, this afternoon at 5:30, there will be a peaceful walk in the neighborhood of Satilla Shores where Ahmaud Arbery was killed while jogging. And again, all the information that you need to know about that is at the 223 Foundation on Facebook. They have all the information about the walk tonight, about how you can support the 223 Foundation and how you can get involved. I believe they're doing a charity run in honor of him. The hashtag I Run With Maud started with them. So just, it's been a year, Cody, and hopefully all of us have grown, but I know there's still a lot of healing that needs to be done in the community. There's still a mother who's mourning the loss of her child, and there's still an entire community that's shaken by this. So we're a year removed from it, but it still feels like it was yesterday.
You know, I'm very proud of Southeast Georgia for the way they came together after this. Because a lot of stuff gets real political, and some people will argue certain stuff. And at first it was kind of like that until more evidence came out, and then everybody just sat back. We're like, you know what? This was a murder. You know what I mean? There was no real...
as soon as the video was released.
Exactly. Everybody was like, oh my God. Like, and the whole entire community came together. Brunswick, I'm so proud of you as a city. The way they came together, the way we marched together peacefully. There weren't anything that went super nuts. People were, joined together as one during COVID, during all this.
An incredibly trying year for the entire world.
Yeah, it was insane the way the community came together. A lot of other communities didn't handle it as well. I feel like Brunswick.
Well, I don't think it's competition, but you can be proud, I think, of the way Southeast Georgia has handled.
Oh yeah,
has handled this. And again, it's an ongoing trial, and the 223 Foundation, if you're wanting to stay up to date with everything that's happening, they've done an unbelievable job updating every single portion of these events as the investigations have gone on. But again, I want to give some local folks credit as well. I mean, Scott Rifen, our friend and a really huge proponent and a huge voice in South Georgia, did an unbelievable job throughout all of this. And I think a first-class job in his reporting on this. And again, it went from something that was a local story, something that where charges weren't even going to be pressed. A mother had to wait 2-3 months to find out what was happening in the death of her child. And then you hear local municipalities saying it was a justified shooting. Then the video comes out, and then the whole world took notice. And that's where we are right now. So it's not done yet, and we're still trying to move forward, and we're still trying to get better every day. But today, a really significant day, is again, it marks the 1-year anniversary of the death of Ahmaud Arbery, the murder of Ahmaud Arbery there in Satilla Shores. So again, tonight, 5:30 p.m. in that same neighborhood, Satilla Shores, there will be a candlelight vigil and a peaceful walk. You just have to go to the neighborhood entrance to participate in that. Christian Gokel, Cody Queen, 3 and Out coming up next. BJ Bennett, Ben Troop, and Kevin Thomas.